Welcome to Uncut Skillplay, everyone, the long play series where I play usually an action game from start to finish on the highest difficulty with the intention of showing you that anyone can play games at a high level, even if they're really bad at them like I can be sometimes. Today we're actually playing. If you're familiar with Momodora, you'll be saying, well, that isn't a character action game. And you're right, it's not. It's a metroidvania. It is actually the fourth in a series of indie 2D pixel art action platformers. Only one of which the previous ones is a Metroidvania, by the way. You should play them; they're interesting. You should also watch my long plays on them. I'll have them linked below. But despite being a Metroidvania, this game also has a number of mechanical trappings that are relevant to action games that, make people who like action games interested, even though some of those similarities are rudimentary and much simpler. Because Momodora, one thing I love about this series is that the developer, BombService, is very self-controlled about the scale of these games. So Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight is a small game. Like this video, if you look at the length below, this video is probably 3 hours or less. And that's with us playing on insane mode, which means tons of deaths, because almost anything will one-shot us. It also means we're also doing 100% of the game's content, and we're also beating every single boss without taking any damage. This doesn't mean we're going to do that on the first try. Many bosses, if not most, would take us multiple tries to do that. We're just going to either... we'll probably die instantly on insane mode if we get a single hit, but even if we don't, we're just going to wipe, because you actually get rewards for no-hitting bosses in Reverie Under the Moonlight, and it actually creates a pretty interesting relationship between the player and the challenge and how the game doles it out. So as far as basic mechanics for Momodora, you can see that we have a basic melee combo. We have a bow for range damage that we can charge up. We have a dodge roll with iframes. Also, there is a rudimentary poise damage system where enemies will kind of keel over and not be able to respond when you attack them. This interfaces quite interestingly and uniquely with the contact damage system in the game, because most games with poise damage, like, Dark Souls or Devil May Cry or whatever, they don't have contact damage on top of their poise damage. And the way you overcome the contact damage in this game is that when you poise break an enemy, which is instantly, like one hit, with rare exceptions, one hit is enough to poise break an enemy. And also you only really do poise damage through relief. Your arrow does not do any poise damage. At least not that I can think of. But because the only way to get over the contact damage is to poise break the enemy, after which point you can freely wail on them, it kind of creates this heightened awareness in the player of like the distance and the rate at which you attack enemies, and when it is and isn't safe to touch enemies. This one in particular is one that we cannot just poise break, so we're going to pepper him with arrows until he's dead. This is actually the only enemy of that kind in the entire game, so you could say it's like a type of mini-boss. This is our first piece of equipment, the Astral Charm. What the Astral Charm does is it causes enemies to sometimes drop twice as much money. We're going to use that for most of the game, because it'll allow us to buy everything in the game, with minimal or no grinding to speak of. I have had runs where I've had to do zero grinding. There's a little bit of luck involved in that, but don't worry. When I say grinding, you're not going to have to watch long stretches of me, just re-entering a room for 20 minutes or whatever. The worst you will have to see is, there will be, maybe one merchant where I'm, 50 money short, and you might see me enter and exit a room 3 times, for a total of 60 seconds. To get more money so I can buy it. Come on, there we go. That was close, because that smoke can damage us. This right here, you might be tempted to attack him. He's actually friendly, and he'll help us later, so we're going to let him live. We're going to get this heart fragment here. This is what upgrades our health. Eventually, we'll get enough of those so that not everything will one-shot us. And this imp won't attack us. But she also doesn't like us. I wish there was a way to make her like us. There is a little bit of RNG to how enemies are positioned when you enter rooms. There we go. We got pretty lucky with that RNG, actually. And thankfully, those shield imps aren't very common. They're basically just in this area. Oh. There we go. Get all that money right there. And now we're just about at the first boss here. Yep, there's our save point. Now here's how this is going to work. Like I said, we're going to no-hit these every single boss. If we get hit once by this boss, it's over for us. But even if it wasn't, we would wipe. Yeah, this is a Anthropod demon Edea. And one thing you may notice about my playstyle is that I don't actually use the dodge roll that much. That is kind of a quirk because you're going to see me use the bow a lot in this run, more than is considered normal, I think, for this game. Apparently you can attack that pearl as a weak point when it's exposed, but I didn't learn that till after I refined my strategy, so I didn't feel like dealing with it. But yeah, that is Edea. She is dead. And we picked up Edea's Pearl. This is our reward for no-hitting her. Now, what Edea's Pearl does is it adds poison properties to our arrows. And that's going to be useful for most of the game. This Jack Skellington-looking fellow is named a Scorn. He is an NPC we're going to see multiple times throughout this game. Side quests in this game are interesting because they're less about like fetch quests or actually like doing tasks for characters and more just kind of like stories that you get to view by meeting them multiple times. It's kind of like From Software quest design in that way, or like Bloodborne quest design where like you know, Eileen the Crow, her quest isn't so much you doing things for her, even though I guess you do have to help her in a fight. Like, it's more about you meeting her and seeing her story progress as it continues. And that's kind of like the side quest design philosophy in Reverie Under the Moonlight. I'll discuss that more as it becomes more relevant. Now, that enemy absolutely can one-shot you and make you have to fight Edea all over again on Insane Mode. If you are wanting to be careful, there's nothing stopping you from beating Edea and immediately turning around and hitting the save point in the previous room just to be safe, but I didn't do that because of pacing reasons for the long play. Now this is a merchant. There is one in every area in this game, except for that first area, I guess. So the Crystal Seed temporarily increases attack by 50%. We want that. Fairy Tear raises your resistance to status ailments. That's useful, but we're basically never going to use it. Ring of Candor, we can actually get that for like half the price later on, so we're not going to buy it yet. Plus, we don't have enough money for it. Okay, so we're going to equip Crystal Seed. And like I said, or didn't say, the nice thing about every item in this game is that every item functions like Estus in Dark Souls, and both your healing items and your non-healing items. So there's no like economy to worry about. Like every time you hit a save point or die, your your items will be recovered. So it basically encourages you to experiment in a way that's pretty nice. Here's another health fragment. See, we jumped across from that side instead of going down the ladder, so we don't have to fight this other dog, and now we never have to hurt him. This dog can live, I can live, and we can be happy. That enemy gives me trouble sometimes. Now we're going to open our shortcut. And this brings us back here. And see, notice our crystal seed replenished. Oh yeah, one other thing to keep in mind about the poison arrows is that you can totally poison yourself by accident, so you have to be careful not to like shoot into a wall when you're facing one. Now we're going to fight our second boss already. And this boss right here is named Moka. He's a little one-eyed imp. And he kind of exists in part to train you on, on poise break management, because he can get really close and screw you up, but there's nothing stopping you from just, like, kind of batting him back. There we go. Oh, no! Oh, alright, well, see, it happens sometimes. I should have been quicker to hit the dodge roll, but I didn't. That's alright, it happens. But, yeah, and thankfully we can skip this cutscene very easily. And we're just going to kind of use arrows on him for most of this unless he gets too close. It's a little bit RNG if he decides to get too close. Like, see, that attack in particular, if he was too close to the center when he did it, we would have just been screwed, mostly. Like, because we wouldn't have a way to, There we go, okay. Now, fake out. This isn't the real boss. He's gone. We're never going to see him again. Instead, we're going to fight Lubella, who is a titty witch. Yeah, she is very, very blessed. And our poison arrows do tons of work to her. There we go. And we no-hit her. And this is not the last time we'll see her. The Bachman Patch. Now, this is another item that's going to be really invaluable to us. In fact, you will get to see why it's so invaluable on a mini-boss that we're going to fight in a little bit. Okay, so this right here. You may notice when I first started the game, I, pretty immediately turned left and went to that last square on the far left side where the boat was. There's nothing there. It's just kind of a little flavor thing. It's just there for you to pad out the map. Now, this room looks pretty similar, but there's no boat. I'm wondering if maybe that's supposed to be kind of like a show-don't-tell storytelling thing. Like, oh, well, you have a boat to escape, but the people of this cursed kingdom, they don't have a route out. The ship has sailed, quite literally, is what I'm thinking is it's supposed to mean. I could be overreading that, because, there's nothing else you do there. There's no items, no nothing. Oh, that was my fault. Bad positioning. He's in there. Hey, Simon.
Can you do a video?
Yep.
Meow.
Yep, Simon, he's in his kitty sweater. Sorry about that brief interruption. I wanted to get the cat. Let's get this guy out of the way. Normally this room doesn't give me that much trouble, but, you know, sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days. I guess I already killed the other dog by accident. Alright, so this is Kath. And she is a knightess in service of the Queen of Karst. And she's going to kind of be our buddy throughout this game. She is kind of, I guess you could say, almost like a Solaire type, where, you know, she's your sister-in-arms who you're going to meet multiple times, and that's how her story is going to play out. She's also very young. I read the manual, I think she's like 18, so she's a very young knight. Actually, I don't know how old knights normally were in Days of Old, and I guess it doesn't matter in a game like this anyway, but... So we're going to get an item here that we'll never use, but we are going to get it anyway. And that's an ambush. We got the magnet stone, which causes money to be attracted to you. We're basically never going to use it because we simply don't need it, but it is helpful if you're trying to... It's kind of like Hollow Knight. I forget what it's called, but there's a similar item in Hollow Knight, charm you can equip. Now, this is where we can see the Bachman patch in action. Watch this. There we go. By the way, that I fired that arrow just to show you the gimmick of this mini-boss, is that he's immune to arrows. So, but yeah, the Bachman patch just obliterates enemies. And this right here, there's an invisible platform. There you go. Get another ivory bug. We're going to drop down here. There we go. Sometimes you really do have to, like, enter and exit a room if you want to buy yourself some space. There we go. There we go. And now we're basically home free to the next save point. The early game actually has some of the longest runs between save points, I noticed, in a way that's kind of frustrating. Because, like, you're talking about, like, minutes and minutes of progress lost if you get hit and die on insane mode. Like, in fact, I've reset many runs, like, early because I died in, like, the first 2 areas of the game. And I was like, okay, that's just boring to watch. I'm not going to make people watch me replay the same, like, 4-minute section a second time. And this right here is Paramol, whose name we have not learned yet, but we will learn in a little bit. And he wants us to find his master, who will be able to help us in this monastery, which is the next area. And this is a church, and they talk about seeking salvation. You can donate to St. Esselin. Guess what? You get literally nothing from doing this, so we're not going to. It's literally just a scam, like so many megachurch donations, am I right? And they stand against the queen, apparently. It took me an embarrassing amount of runs to understand this. Which, by the way, I played this game, like, over a dozen times for practice for this. Normally I disclose that in my long plays, how many times I practiced to get to this point, and I just kind of forgot. Now we're just going to go to where Paramol's master is, which means we go right first. Now these skulls inflict curse. Curse means nothing to us right now because we're not really looking to use items in this area. Because like healing is the main problem with you know, if you get cursed. But like, yeah, like that. And like, it doesn't hurt you or anything. There's a certain boss that can curse you. And again, that doesn't count against you getting hit. So there's a hidden enemy in here. And here's another merchant. Like I said, there's a merchant in just about every area. And they only sell something we already have. There's some items up here. So we're going to go up this way. Now notice this door, we can't go in, keep that in mind. There we go. Sometimes it's faster to use the magnet stone. I'm trying to get better about doing that. Another vitality fragment. Okay, let's get out of here. There we go. And the magnet stone. Sometimes that menuing is literally faster than running around and collecting it all. There we go. There we go. I don't think they replenish when I come back. And here we go! Paramol's master is a witch! Yeah, Paramol, that's where he gets name dropped. I'm not sure why this witch is here in this house of worship, actually. I'm not sure it's ever explained, but it is kind of interesting that she just lives in this church, basically. I do like this little detail coming up right here. And like she has the big red eye when she's like telling your future. I think that's a really fun detail. I love that. And then she gives us a key, the monastery key, which we need to open the next way forward. And we're just going to make our way back and then go to the upper path instead. Invisible enemy here. Again, no point in dealing with it. If I wanted to show off, I could use the Bachman patch and show that you can actually kill it off screen, but I often mess that up and die, and that just wastes time, so we're not going to bother. It doesn't actually get you anything for doing that, but I did think that was kind of interesting that there's like an invisible enemy there. Alright, we're going to drop down here just for a moment, because there's this chest right here. There we go, with tons and tons of money. Because we're not going to come by this way for a while, but that money could help us with certain other items we need to buy. Now we're going to make our way up. Jumping up ladders is faster than simply climbing up them. And we're going to go to the left first, because there's, you know, a pickup we can get from there. There's an enemy that spawns there to the left, but it's very, very hard to trigger. So, you know, the best course of action is simply to not do that. Oh, we're dead. Yeah, that was on my part. Remember what I said about how you can poison yourself with your own poison arrows if you're not careful? What I should have done is waited just a fraction of a second more before melee attacking them, because once the gas fades to like a pure black color, I believe, it becomes a harmless to you. It's alright. There we go. And this drops the Tainted Missive, which we are really gonna need. Crystal Seed, Tainted Missive. What the Tainted Missive does is that it takes away 25% of your health, and in return greatly increases your damage capacity. I think it's by 100%. So, obviously we can't take damage during boss fights, right? However, there is no rule. There's no rule saying that you can't pop it outside a boss fight and then go in there and then wreak havoc. That's because the rule is that you can't get damage in boss fights. The rule is not that you have to be perfect health. Very, very different, and and the difference does matter. There we go. I find this part really tough. Whoop! That could have been screwed up. Normally what I'd do is I'd jump attack them, but I didn't want to take the risk. Now, technically we don't have to go back down to the save point, but you saw how we died up there, and if I die going to the right and I have to redo all that left side over again, that's not going to be fun to watch. So we're going to take a quick, less than a minute detour to the bell. There we go. And then we'll go back up here. Now, one thing you may notice I don't think I mentioned before is that I'm not rolling very much. The reason for that is because I'm using the bow so heavily on this run. And when you have a charged bow, rolling cancels the charge. So I've kind of gotten used to just like jumping and like, you know, moving across obstacles, which may or may not be a good habit. I'm not sure. Maybe don't do it the way I do, but that is kind of a habit I developed as I've learned this game. And it's probably a trade-off. It's probably helpful in some ways and hurtful in others, depending on what I'm doing. And there's an ivory bug here. There is another room in that little crawl space that we can't reach yet. Stay tuned. We're going to have to come back later. Alright, now there's a boss coming up here. There we go. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to pop. And we're going to pop. And we're going to charge. There we go. Now this boss is... If this boss reminds you of Lady Maria from Bloodborne, there's a reason for that. This is a very Lady Maria pastiche. I think this is an amazing boss. I don't like the framing because it's basically a misunderstanding where she just attacks you without even trying to hear you out. But it's a really fucking cool like setup for a boss. I'm fine with it. Just like the way the fight is. Whoop! That was my fault. I shouldn't have done that if she was directly in the middle. So my positioning wasn't quite right. It was a combination of RNG and me not properly responding to the RNG when I could have. So, you know, it's like I said, there are a number of things that can... Whoop! Ah! I hesitated on that second backman patch. That's alright. Like I said, this is one of the bosses that's going to take the most tries. Hopefully it won't be more than a couple of tries, but, you know, it is the boss that it's one of the more complicated bosses, because this is the, quote, dual boss of the game. Whoa! Oh! Oh, no way. She did not. She did not change her direction in the middle of my roll. She does that. Well, I think what happened is that my roll was early enough so that her direction for that last movement wasn't quite determined. No, no, no. All right. Come on, let's try again. Oh, that was very, very close to... Well, it was unlucky anyway. That was just bad luck. I will say that that was just bad luck, and that I don't know how I could have responded to that. Oh well, it happens. Oh, that sucks. Alright. Yeah, that was just bad positioning all around. Like, she wasn't where I needed her to be, and I wasn't where I needed to be, and, you know, some relationships just end that way. There we go. We did it. Remember I said most bosses, when you hit them, give you a exclusive new item? This one doesn't, but this gives you more tainted missives. This is important because remember how I said that one tainted missive drops you by 25% health? Well, now we have 4 instead of 2, which means we can pop 3 to get down to 25% health. Now, you might say, wow, that's terrible, Moon. Why would you do that? And stay tuned. We're going to get another piece of equipment that will interface with that in a way that's actually super helpful and helps us obliterate bosses way faster than you saw us do there. And, of course, we got a we got a crest fragment for... We got a crest fragment for no-hitting that boss. Not for no-hitting that boss. That's just like the... That's just, you know, what we get for beating the boss. And it gives us a new bow charge level. Now we can go down. And we can be done with the monastery for now. For now. Keyword, like, we are going to have to come back eventually, because we have some other business to take care of. And we're just going to head left, and we're going to head back to where our friend Kath is. Don't want them to notice that we killed their partner. Their partner. And their partner. Oh, well, yeah, that was my fault. I could have... Well, I shouldn't have tried to do the bow charge. That was dumb. What I should have done is I should have just ran forward with the melee strike. No, that's right. What I should have done was I should have meleeed the dog and then bowed the mage is what I should have done, I think. So yeah, we'll try that now. There we go. Yeah, these are strategies I know, but that I formulate over tons and tons of playthroughs, but sometimes I just forget things like that. And you may notice that we have this jump attack. The thing about the jump attack is it doesn't combo, so it does less damage overall than other, than the basic melee combo we can do. But it also, does more damage in the single strike. And we're just going to go down here. We can breathe underwater, apparently. There is no mechanic for dying underwater. This chest right here, it's a troll chest. It only has one piece of money. I'll take that, though. There's a couple troll chests like that. I'm not sure why, but... Now, if you've played Momodora 2, or if you've watched my long play of Momodora 2, you may remember Eri, who was a rival character who Momo fought like twice in the game before befriending her. This is her, and I actually didn't know that. For years and years, I didn't know that. I had no idea it was the same character. For some reason, it just never clicked in my head that both games had a somewhat tanned character with brown hair named Eri, and that they were the same character, but they are. And yeah, I guess I'm not sure how much longer before the trilogy Momodora 4 takes place, but it's interesting because this is a character that is in both timelines, apparently. So apparently she's young enough that she's still around in Momodora 2. So it makes me wonder how much time passes between Momodora 4 and the rest of the games. And there is a side quest associated with Eri too. It's probably the least involved with the side quests, because it's literally just meeting her. All we need to do here is paint the map. There we go. We're gonna get the Necklace of Sacrifice, which we desperately need. We will get the Clarity Shard eventually too, but we really don't need it. But you'll see what the Necklace of Sacrifice does when we get... Basically, the Necklace of Sacrifice... I'll just tell you now, so I don't forget. The Necklace of Sacrifice says that when you're in low health, you do a bunch of extra damage. Like, tons and tons of extra damage. That's why I was saying those those extra Tainted Missives are so important. Because you can pop 3 of them to drop to 25% health, which the game reads as low health. And then you can... and then that will give you both extra damage with the Tainted Missive and extra damage with the Necklace of Sacrifice, which is pretty helpful. Thank you. There is a ivory bug up there. We can't get it yet. We'll have to get it later. And now here's a Scorn. He was in the jail cell. We just saved him. No idea who imprisoned him or why. And yeah, that's why he looks like Jack Skellington. He's literally dead. He's just chasing the spirit of his dead wife. So I guess the idea is that the undead are trapped here too, which is pretty interesting. And this is kind of sad right here. We literally have no way to save this NPC. Like, it is just a dead-end side quest and you can't help them. Yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do for them. Whoa! Let's go back to the save point. Oh, actually, let's pick up the Clarity Shard now. All it does is light up dark areas, which we really don't need, but let's see, because I can see just fine. I don't know about you, but I can see just fine without it, but, just show you what it does. I don't even know how long it lasts. There we go. Those Reapers can be a real pain sometimes. And this room is kind of tricky. There's a bell here, but the bell is busted. You can see that the map marks there as being a bell. However, we can break this open. No need to panic. We have curse. Oh, okay. I did not. That really didn't look like it touched me, but apparently it did. That's all right. But yeah, I kind of got waylaid because of that bat that just happened to come out of there. What you're supposed to do is get cursed and immediately scramble up and hit them with the bow before they can fire at you. And just because of the bat, I couldn't move forward without breaking the without resetting the charge on my bow, which meant that I couldn't oh, come on. Ooh, that was very close. Yeah, I was gonna be real annoyed if I got hit a second time. Even if you can't like kill them, remember that they, again, because the way poison damage works is that enemies stun the first time you hit you hit them. So even if you don't have time to like stand there and like kill them all, you can hit them once, which will stun them for a few moments, and you can keep running if need be. Though in my case, I just prefer to kill them. Just kill them instantly and get it over with, just in case. Okay, so we're just gonna go this way. There is a lamp in the next room, but this route is pretty safe, so I'm not going to bother. Famous last words, if a bat comes and I run into them. But yeah, we're going to need this later, and if we don't get it now, we're going to have to do just a little bit of backtracking that's annoying. But yeah, that's the garden key. We will need it, but not till later. And yes, those are spikes. They don't exactly look like it. Even having beaten the game as many times as I have accidentally killed myself in those before. So you just gotta be careful. Alright, and here's the bell. That's another crawl space we can't reach yet. We'll have to get later. I do like how these spaces feel designed. Like this space, like the Subterranean Grave, is that it's submerged underwater. I do like the kind of like trappings that show you it wasn't always like that. Not just the floating furniture, but the way the actual level design works is if you pay attention, these levels are designed such that they would be traversable with regular jumping and moving if they weren't full of water, which I think is a very, 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 very cool part of like ludonarrative consonance, where they're using like the rules of the game to communicate to you that, hey, it wasn't always like this. Once upon a time, this was a playable space you could have navigated without it being underwater. And I think that's extremely cool, because like, I think I passed them already. I didn't think to mention them, unfortunately. But there were moments where it was like, there were platforms that didn't need to be there and didn't make sense to be there. But they would have made sense if the area wasn't submerged underwater. Like, because they are things that would have been necessary for you to get past them as a platform space. And I think that's extremely fucking cool. Just as like a little like story, like kind of a merging of like storytelling and mechanical design. Okay, so this is kind of tricky. This boy right here, we have to lure him over so that he can bomb this wall right here for a shortcut. I am not a fan of this, honestly. I think it's annoying. It's kind of a secret. I think it's one of those things where it's like the quote real pathway is supposed to be from the last from the you know, the other bell down in the lower left right there. But yeah, it's not something I particularly like. It's not hard, but it is kind of like a guy dang it thing that I wouldn't have. And of course, going up here is a bit annoying, actually. Go. Gotta be careful because this fire can hurt and kill us. And yes, they can follow you into this boss arena. 2, 3. Oh, I forgot to pop the necklace of sacrifice. Wait for the bow to charge. There we go. Oh, well, okay, yeah, he's an annoying boss where, like, he doesn't really take the same kind of poise damage, so he can just, like, run into you if you're not careful. So you have to actually be careful with the spacing of your, Whoa. Yeah. We actually do have to stay in place for the positioning for the Bachman patch. I always forget that. That was my problem. I moved backwards when I shouldn't have. There we go. Not the most graceful version of that fight I've had, but I'll take it. I do like to make it a little more visually spectacular than just spamming arrows, but, you know, works it works, and we got it done reasonably quickly. We got the Sparse Thread as our no-hit bonus. What it does is it just kind of creates a small AoE spell that does a bunch of damage. We are going to use that on a couple of upcoming one upcoming boss and one upcoming mini boss. Now we get our next crest fragment. This allows us to charge areas even faster. So you can see how we're getting more and more powerful with every boss fight, basically. Now we can get this bow charged immediately, basically, which is pretty nice. And we're just going to rest at the save point. And then we are going to make our way down. We're going to basically make our way down the way we were already going beforehand. But we're going to make a right at a certain point that we skipped last time. And that'll take us to the next area. And that would be this way. And see, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, if you were coming from the opposite direction of this room, let's say, then you would reasonably be able to jump up here, and then up here, and then over here, and then all the way over there, when there was no water. Which I think is... that's the kind of, like, storytelling stuff that I think is really cool in this game. The kind of, like, designing the spaces so that the game... the structural design of those spaces tells a story. And same with this ladder here. Like, this ladder doesn't need to be here, except that you need it to go up there when there's no water. And now Garden Key. This might be my favorite... one of the most frustrating areas to get out of, I think, because of the route I'm taking. But it is actually a... but it's actually, like, I love the music, I love the atmosphere, I love this area. But these boys I don't like. Those bugs, they can really be a pain. I love the music, I love the melancholy. Like, I feel like this area showcases, like, Momodora's best self, so to speak, because it's pretty, it's colorful, it's got cute, like, character and enemy designs, but also it's very moody and very melancholy. You see this room right here? It looks treacherous. We're never gonna go in this room, because we can enter both sides of the room from different entrances and paint their map that way, and that's literally, like, the only thing we need them for. There is something in this room that we need, but we'll have to get it later because we don't have the upgrades for it. And here we go. Now we entered that room from the other side. Now we never have to navigate it. As you can imagine why all that bomb throwing and everything is a real pain. There we go. There we go. And this will give us a new bellflower. The bellflowers again. Those are the health. Those are the health ups the health restoration items that we're basically never going to use. Well, that's not true. There are definitely parts where we will use them, but we're definitely not using them to the extent the game wants us to. This right here is the Dull Pearl. This is literally just Edea's Pearl, but with a different name. With, I guess, the story implication being that, assuming you didn't no-hit Edea and get her Pearl, that someone else did, and now it's like old and withered, and that's why it's a Dull Pearl. But yeah, it costs 1,000 money, which we don't have. We're not going to get this till the very end of the game, because we literally don't need it. We already have the item that does the same thing. And yeah, now we're going to equip the Sparse Thread, because we're going to use that. Because we're about to fight a boss. A boss we've seen before, actually. Oops, that was... Man, I never die in this boss. Was hoping to get one boss that I could no-hit. I'm sorry, that I can one try and no-hit. That's okay. I'm sure there'll be another boss I do that too. Famous last words. Oh, and that was just luck, unfortunately. Keep in mind, you can walk past those. You don't have to, Oh, no. Man, we're just getting hit with bad RNG on this one that we normally don't get hit with. And I don't mean that as like a Johning thing, like, oh, he just doesn't let me use bad. It's like, no, like these are literally like randomizations that I've not had to run into when I was practicing. Like, it's not like bad, it's not the game being bad, it's just incidental bad luck. It happens in any game, you know what I mean? Of course, you could make an argument that a better player would not have this trouble, which you're right. I'm not a better player. Man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, because I... Yeah, it's actually getting kind of embarrassing. I never die to this boss. So I don't know what my problem is today. Wait, did I? Oh, no wonder. I forgot to apply the Necklace of Sacrifice. I accidentally hit the wrong button. No way. Oh, and I thought I was charging the bow, but apparently not. Okay, alright. Now we can do it because I know what I was doing wrong, and I forgot to charge the bow on the way in. No wonder. I was gonna say, because, like, normally I obliterate that boss instantly with this combo, so when only, like, half her health went down, I was like, what the hell happened? Like, this normally never happens. What am I doing wrong? Did I forget something? Apparently I did forget something, or maybe more accurately, I hit the wrong button by accident. That is how it's supposed to happen. But see, this is kind of a happy accident because you see how important, like, the equipment is for these runs on these bosses. Like, I forgot one piece of equipment. I got everything else in place, but I forgot the Necklace of Sacrifice, and that completely screwed me for, like, 6 attempts. So, you do have to be careful and make sure you're not forgetting those things if you're playing. And we got the Torn Branch, which is... it restores a small amount of HP per kill. You know, just... Which we're not going to use it. It's useful for some runs, but not this one. And we're a cat now. This is our morph ball, as you can see. We're trapped in this form right now, but we're eventually going to be able to change back. Maybe that's a spoiler I shouldn't say, but we're literally going to be able to change back in, like, just a couple minutes. And this is just kind of an Easter egg. There's nothing here except this NPC who gets annoyed at you if you scratch her. Cat just wants attention. I have no idea who she's supposed to be, or if she's a reference to, like, another series or what, but to my knowledge, Ardeen has only made the Momodora games. I could be wrong about that. If you're watching this, Ardeen, which, for one, if you're watching, I'm flattered. Thank you for thinking my play is worth watching. But B, if you have developed other games, sound off below in the comments. I apologize for misrepresenting your career. Alright. Now this run right here is a little bit tricky too, in ways I find annoying. Sometimes if you're not lucky, you can accidentally stray close enough that the Cat Reaper gets triggered before they're on screen and they can, like, you know, hit you, and it's annoying. The Cat Sphere, this is what lets us transform between human and cat. Annoyingly, it is a piece of equipment, so you do have to equip it and take up a slot, but, you know, even though there are, like, at least 2 extra buttons on the controller that could have been used for that, but oh well. It could have been a Game Maker limitation, too. They may not have been able to access the triggers with this version of Game Maker. And now we just kind of have to... And we're just going to go up here. No. Oh, man, that was just... Okay, now this right here. This is kind of eerie. I love this. My dear Cecilia. He doesn't respond if you talk to him again. His clothing looks oddly familiar. We leave. If we come back. And he is gone. His coat is on the grave, and that's it. And that is the end of Ascorin's questline. And see, this is what I was talking about when I said that Momodora's 4's quest system is more in line with telling character stories than it is in terms of making meaningful narrative quests. Because your reward, there are no mechanical rewards for this side quest. It is just kind of this sad, melancholy story that you get to see from start to finish by meeting this character multiple times. And I think that's really, really cool. Like, I like that a whole lot. Like, you know, I don't think that... I'm not one of those people who's going to sit there and, like, justify bad quest design, like, you know, get 10 bare asses or whatever and go, oh, well, it's in service to the story. Like, I think that's true sometimes, but I also think that's kind of cap a lot of the time. But I think here, where it's, like, nakedly these simple, the quote side quests are more like these simple character interactions. I think those are valuable and good, just as, like, fun narrative stuff. Now, this is a bunny florist. This is where we deliver the ivory bugs we've been collecting, because they need the bugs to somehow help their plants. And we're visiting them just this once with the ones that we have. Okay, so you know what? Normally I wouldn't do this, but we're about to embark on a very long and annoying trek that absolutely does set you back a whole lot if you die. So, and I usually die on this run, so we're going to make a quick backtrack to, what's it called? To the bell that's here in the Forlorn Monastery. And we're going to deal with her later. That is an NPC that we're going to meet in a bit. But yeah, the bunny florist, we're actually not going to see them again until the very end of the game. We're going to wait till we collect all the bugs, and then we're going to deliver them all together as one, as we sweep up what little backtracking we have to do in this game. Oh, no. Oh, that's annoying. I was really hoping. I usually like to obliterate those because they're really annoying. It didn't work this time. Normally I get lucky and I get them all in one place like that, but it didn't happen this time. But that's okay, honestly. Let's equip the magnet stone. Remember to unequip it this time. And we're going to briefly equip the bellflower. And now we go down here. I almost always forget this and almost die right here, because there's spikes right there. And now we're in the Cinder Chambers, which might be my least favorite place in the game. And these guys are tricky because remember how I said most enemies poise break within a single hit? They are one of the exceptions. We're gonna get those. There we go. Watch this be like the one time I don't die the first time. Oh, that was close. I almost died right there because I messed up my positioning. If I remember correctly, there's something we need to shoot as soon as we enter this next room. Yup! There we go. And that's just a trap. It doesn't lead to anything. You can fall from above and hurt yourself if you're not careful. And those are mages that can throw things at you, so you gotta be careful. And this is our spider buddy, who I said will help us. He sells us things that I think some of them are unique, but also they're cheaper than you can get them anywhere else. So we're going to get the drilling arrows, which arrows pierce through enemies. We're never going to use those, but we're going to buy it anyway. Ring of Candor, like I said, we can get it for cheaper later. It was 400 earlier. Emits a sound when near a secret. We're not going to use that because I have everything memorized, but you know that's helpful when you're learning the game. And then Impurity Flax. It restores HP when you're poisoned. Now this is interesting. I will show you how those two things interface. I will show you how that interfaces with other items you have in a little bit. When it becomes relevant, which may be in this area, actually. We're going to put on the Necklace of Sacrifice. Put on the Crystal Seed. And we're about to fight another boss. Give us just a moment. And we're about to see a mimic. A chest mimic. There we go. If you know it's coming, you can fire at it long before. One thing I like about this, notice how the fire goes in the floor? Well, when it hits the water, it doesn't hit the floor, which is nice. I mean, it doesn't stay there. It just douses out. So this right here, this is the boss arena. We're going to break these because they actually get in the way. So... there we go. There we go. Oh, and Kath landed the last blow. I do like that detail that her health bar is partially empty when the fight starts, highlighting that you're kind of running into a boss fight that's already in progress with that Kath is fighting, which I think is pretty cool. And no, she can do damage too, because she delivered the final blow on that. Sacred Leaf in action. Sure, let's hear her out. I actually have no idea what happens if you say no. So she's a deserter. She proposes regicide. And of course we know about the crest, because we already have 2 of the pieces of it. And I forgot to point out, but that kind of white cloudiness that was in Karst City in that one door, that's what we're trying to get into, but we can't get into yet. And our no-hit run item is the Pocket Incensory, which we can buy later in the game, but much later, and it's very expensive. And this will be helpful near the very end of the game, actually. It just adds flame damage to your attacks, which causes a little bit more damage, but more importantly, it causes more poise damage. So you can very quickly poise break certain enemies that aren't normally poise broken easily, because there are a few of those. And there's our crest fragment right there. This one is our... there we go. It gives us a mid-air dodge, kind of a blink dodge with a cooldown. Kind of like, again, kind of like Hollow Knight. I shouldn't keep comparing it to Hollow Knight because this came out before Hollow Knight, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but that's like the first thing that comes to my mind. I could hop and skip 2 at a time, but I just feel like being cautious. We could use the cat sphere here to get through more quickly, but I don't think it's worth the brief moment spent in the menu to do so. And that's a Cinder key, which we will need. Slap the bell again. And now we're gonna make our way to the next area. There we go. Could use some money, why not? Alright, now thankfully this is the last time we'll have to deal with the spike balls. No, no, no. That was my fault. I got greedy. That's alright. But it's okay. We only got set back a couple rooms. Yeah, and this challenge gets just a bit tough. Whoa, whoa. Okay, I got poisoned. Now let me show you something. The impurity flask, it recovers me when I'm poisoned. But not only that, if you need to restore health and you're in a safe place, there's nothing stopping you from putting on the impurity flask and taking your poison arrows, poisoning yourself and restoring health that way, just for like free health. It is free endless health, which I think is a pretty cool synergy in this game that the game never tells you about, but it's also simple enough that you can reasonably intuit it. Okay, now let me put the astral charm back on. That's another one we could have gone through, but I don't want to be greedy. We saw what happened last time I was greedy. There we go. And now we get a vitality fragment. But also, we hit this switch. Let's go ahead and magnet stone those. Oops, wrong button. And yeah, these no longer fall because we hit the switch. There we go, we got our 10th ivory bug. Now we're back here. This is familiar territory, isn't it? Now we have a small side quest. This is the only side quest that has a, I would say, I guess, a meaningful, crunchy, mechanical payoff to it. This character right here. And she just kind of repeats that. So we're going to embark on a side quest that has us going back to an area we've been before. Soft tissue. And ivory bug. I forgot this one on the last run that I ended up scrapping because it took way too long to find it and it ruined the flow of the long play. I can't believe I forgot that one because I know where that one is too. Now we just gotta return back to whence we came. There we go. Now, I guess before I hand it to her, let me show you what we picked up. We picked up the soft tissue, which it creates an artificial healing zone. It's an enchanted fabric used by Esalen nuns in their liturgies. And that was like a hidden room right outside of Partner Fennel's boss room. So I think we can like reasonably ascertain that it belonged to Partner Fennel. And we talked to this character. She repeats the same thing that she said. She's repeating the same prayer over and over again, basically. So yeah, she is Partner Fennel's older sister. We can give it to her, so we lose that mechanical benefit. But now, we'll see what happens next in this side quest. The equipment change, it makes it so obvious, doesn't it? This door was locked before. You may be wondering why I'm preparing for battle. So she basically betrayed her religion to worship the queen. Oh, I always get messed up when I'm at this angle. Oh, whoa. Yeah, normally I go on the other side. I got kind of messed up there. But yeah, so yeah, she's a boss fight. That's what I meant when I said this is like the only side quest that has like a meaningful, like mechanical, like element to it. Because, not to say that like the others are lesser for not having that, but it's just that, you know, the other ones are more story beats, whereas this one actually has a boss fight associated from it. And there's no reward for doing it unless you know hit it. So it's just kind of like a cool, like, the boss is its own reward, basically. Because it is a cool boss fight. I want to make sure I have the Necklace of Sacrifice equipped this time. Yeah, I felt kind of trapped there. I'm not sure how I was supposed to get out of that. That's alright. That's happened to me in that boss fight a few times before. There's probably some way to deal with it that I've not figured out, but, you know, this one usually takes me a few tries. I did have a run where I did this in, like, the first try, and it's like, man, oh man, what I wouldn't give to have the run that works out be the one where with all these these really good boss runs. Okay, yeah, you're supposed to... Oh! Right after I got it. That's alright. Yeah, I keep forgetting about the air dodge. Remember how I said that I've kind of, like moved away from dodging my playstyle? This is a boss fight that kind of highlights the weakness of that, because, like, it's just not in my instinct to dodge very much. Even though I totally should be. And now she's kind of like praying for mercy, basically. I love that detail that she's like betrayed her god, and now she's like, you know, just begging for mercy, like in her final moments after betraying her. Or betraying him. I think Lord Esselin is the saint. It's so good. And that's it. We got the blood-stained tissue, which we're probably never going to use. I never did really experiment with this one, even though I probably should have. But it casts an offensive sorcery. Fabric drenched in the holy blood of Archpriestess Choir. Fearing the power of the crown, she clung to the queen's side and worshipped her as a goddess. Unlike her older sister, Sister Fennel remained loyal to her faith and resisted the queen. So yeah, basically like, while Fennel remained faithful to her religion, the Archpriestess Choir chose monarchy over her faith, you know, but she was scared. And I think like the implication, especially with how like the church like takes money and kind of like chastises you if you say no, like we saw, is that the church ain't great either, but it's still presenting like the religious devout Fennel as like the heroic figure here who did the right thing. But even then, she was just quick to like assume you were an enemy, and she died herself. So I guess you could say like there's no one is more I guess you could say that one of them is more sympathetic than the other. Like I would say that partner Fennel is the more sympathetic of the two characters, but both of them are kind of like tragic in their own different ways. And we are making our way back to the very first area in the game, because there is actually business we need to do there. Like main story business, not just side quest business. That was close. And this time we're going to go this way, because it is another path to get to where we want to go. There's just an NPC who says that she's not scared. Like, there are a couple of those in the game, as you've seen, where, like, they're not really, like, characters, so to speak. They're just, And there is a chest full of money right here. And that guy's supposed to ambush you. And of course, we're just gonna run. Oh yeah, since we're running by it, I can show you. This is the door. Yeah, we don't have the full Karst pass yet. And now here's Ari one more time, continuing her story. You can totally say yes, and I did that by accident. I felt so bad the one time I did. Now we're back here. Familiar territory. And now we can go down here. Oh, you got me. Yeah, that was just bad aim on my part. That's okay. Yeah, this is actually a really short area. There's no boss here. It's just the last place we need to get the final crest. I do find it interesting how, like, the one place not affected by the curse is still fairly dangerous. Like, it's got a bunch of imps who don't like people and stuff. And, like, that's still, like, better. Oh, you gotta be kidding. Oh, well, good thing we have this. Purity Flask. Alright, our poison is gone. Let's switch back to Astral Charm. There we go. And see, this is why it's a good thing we're collecting these heart fragments, because it eventually gets us to the point of where we aren't one-shot by everything, as you can see now. And that is the final crest fragment. And now we can warp while praying. Again, like Dark Souls, getting the Lord Vessel. Like, people actually do compare this game to Dark Souls and Bloodborne a lot. I haven't talked a lot about this in this particular recording, but, like, people do bring up a lot of similarities. I decided not to bring it up at the beginning of this recording because I didn't want people to think that I was just brainlessly going, it's like Dark Souls, because people do that about everything, and it's really kind of dumb and annoying. But now, what's next? Going to get a couple things that we missed. The things that we can get now that we have everything. But yeah, basically, like, you know, people just kind of, like, stupidly, thoughtlessly, like, people want to gerrymander everything into being like Dark Souls now because, like, it has this reputation as being this super influential and, like, unique series. So, like, everything either, like, everything when kind of, a lot of people tend to view everything in terms of, like, you know, either Dark Souls influenced this or this led to Dark Souls, one or the other, right? I've noticed that a lot in, like, frankly, what I consider pretty bad and pretty narrow, like, you know, games analysis. And so, like, but, like, when I say that, like, Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight is like Dark Souls or like Bloodborne, I mean that because there are a bunch of very small things that the game does, both narratively and mechanically, that are similar to From Software games, that are small on their own, but in aggregate, they add up to, and look, you can see your ghost if you're a cat form, which is nice. But, like, in aggregate, they add up in a way that makes it obvious that this developer was very inspired by From Software. So, like, the kingdom is, like, very, like, Bloodborne in, like, its gothic architecture. Like, the mechanical trappings of being all about dodge rolling and poise and having Estus-based items, and also just kind of, like, being this, like, non-linear labyrinth you can explore is very Dark Souls. Some of the narrative trappings, like fighting a Lady Maria type character, are very much like Bloodborne. Here's the character we can save. They're dead now. It's really sad. Like the kind of like story-centric side quests that kind of dead end in these like sad, melancholy endings also is very much like From Software. And, like, there are a couple other things we're going to see coming up that are similar to that, too. But that's kind of what I'm getting at when I compare it to, like, Dark Souls or Bloodborne. I'm not saying that's literally a Souls-like or anything, but I'm saying a lot of the same spirit is there, both narratively and mechanically, in all these small ways. kind of similar to the way it's there for Hollow Knight. Like, Hollow Knight isn't a Souls-like. It's not a Dark Souls clone, but it has, like, so many of those similar trappings. Okay, so next we're going to go back to Sacred Ordalia Grove, because we picked up the Dirty Shroom, and we need to deliver that to someone. What does the Dirty Shroom do as it is? Well, you can't use it, actually. It's just a key item. It's leaking some slimy white substance. Imp girls are fond of it. We're going to go here, grab a Vitality Fragment. There we go. Whoa, that was very close. Oh yeah, notice how there's like little centipedes in the background? I really like that detail. I'm going to restore some health. There we go, there's an ivory bug. Now, here we go. Here's a little imp girl who didn't like us. There we go. Now she's all happy, and I'm happy because she likes me, and that's great. Anyway, the way the Rotten Bellflower works is it poisons you instead of, it's from the previous King of Karst, which is interesting. But the Rotten Bellflower, it poisons you. Now remember how we have the Impurity Flask? That means that you basically got 3 extra free Bellflowers that you can use as long as you use the Impurity Flask. Pretty sweet reward. Again, like not useless to us, but pretty sweet reward. Like if you're just doing like a regular playthrough, like where, you know, that's not like on insane mode, maybe. And you'd be like, oh yeah, I can totally use like, you know, all these healing items. Like the healing items don't mean anything. They mean very little. I'm not saying they're useless, because obviously like I have been using healing items on this run, but the healing items are like largely useless to you once you've learned like insane mode enough that like you're playing well, so that you're just like naturally not like tanking anything. Oh yeah, there was a shortcut we could have totally used up there, but I forgot. It literally doesn't do anything. It's just there for the sake of a shortcut, which is kind of nice if you know. Come on. And now we can warp to... Well, we're not going to do Whiteleaf Memorial Park yet. We're not going to do Cinder Chambers yet. Wait, no, we can do Cinder Chambers. Yeah, we can totally do Cinder Chambers. We don't have the warp yet because we actually skipped the bell that the warp is at. But I'm actually not worried about that because we can... It's literally like right... It's literally a stone's throw away from this, so it's really easy to get through. It actually saves us more time to do it this way than it would have been to, like, highlight that bell earlier. Not worried because the bell's right here. Yeah, we don't need to go down there. Whoa! This is actually really annoying, this room. He sells us the Ring of Candor for a bit cheaper, but we already have that, and the Red Ring, which is for a small amount of HP per kill, but enemies won't drop money. So it's like the Torn Branch that we got from killing Lubella, the Titty Witch, but it has a drawback to it. We're going to buy it for completionist sake, but we're never going to use it. Same with the Torn Branch, to be honest. It took me so long to figure out the optimal way to get past that. Like... Now we're gonna go down here. I think we got the whole room. Yep, we are done with Cinder Chambers. We are now going to go to Karst City and continue on to the main endgame. We actually do have things to do in Whiteleaf Memorial Park. Don't freak out. I know one of you noticed that little empty spot on the map in the corner there. We have a couple other things to do in Whiteleaf Memorial Park that we can't do until the very end anyway. So we're just going to kind of do all those in one fell swoop instead of making multiple trips, because there's just no reason to do that. And now we can use our 4 crests, or crest shards, to create a single full crest. There's a cat secretary. Talk to her again, she says more. Nutmeg Liz, what a name. The Royal Pinacotheca. I meant to look up how that's pronounced before the recording this, but I totally forgot. It is cruel. That's so cruel. And now, that penguin boss's spawn is coming after us, so that was my fault. I always get hit by that guy. But yeah, it's mostly a linear shot from here. Like, this leads into one true final area. Like, this whole area is kind of a labyrinth unto itself. But it is, you know, got a linear entrance and exit. And then it leads into the next area, which is fully linear as well. We are going to leave and come back to this place a couple times. But it's not because it's unlinear. It's because there are other things that we need to do that we aren't able to do in some other places. This is interesting right here. Look at this. Oh, nope, nope, nope. I accidentally scrolled the camera way too far. if you get too close, they stop talking. And it's this kind of really interesting visual trick where it's like you listening in on a conversation that you can't fully hear the content of, but like recreate in like a text form. I think that's really, really cool. I love that a whole lot. And you can tell these characters, we never find out who these characters are. I have a suspicion that perhaps they're the parents of either Momo or Isadora from the other 3 games, but if there's some confirmation of that, I don't know. But the main reason I think it's one of those 2 things is because of something that's in the next room. It's just this couple that's just surviving, basically. Notice that's a far cry from earlier, when Kath literally points at us and says, you don't look like you can take care of yourself. But now we've gotten to the point where, oh yeah, it's very obvious we can take care of ourselves. Now, there's all this empty treasure in here, and there's a spot, and there's a worn away painting, and there's this box, and it plays the theme from the original Momodora game. That's why I'm thinking that maybe it's the parent, not even of Momo, I think it may be the parents of Isadora in particular, because Isadora was the playable character in Momodora 1, whereas Momo wasn't in the first game at all. And yeah, that's it. That's all that's going on with that couple. Kind of curious, isn't it? Oh, goodness. That would have been a really annoying death. And that middle one was a mimic. There we go. That's tons and tons of money. There we go. Now, Pocket and Sensory, remember, we got that from killing the Heretical Arsonist. And meanwhile, if we didn't one-shot kill them, then we would have had to wait till now and it would have cost an absurd amount of money. Aside from that, we have the quick arrows and the violet sprite. Neither of them are useful to us, so it really doesn't matter which order we get them in. Let's just go with the quick arrows. And we'll definitely have enough money to get those in a little bit. Go, we got another ivory bug. Ugh, I meant to... There we go. Sometimes directional control is a bit tricky if you're not very precise about it, and I'm never precise about it. Well. Now here's a trick. You see those arrows on the left side of the room? Up, up, down, down, left, right. That's a spell you can actually do the whole game that it never tells you about, but you can always do it. I've simply not baked it into my strategy just because I've not really felt the need to do so. Though maybe it would have helped in certain places. I just never really experimented with it. And we'll go into the next room later on. This is interesting right here. This skull appears to be laughing. It's literally just a, it's literally just an Easter egg, that's all it is. Now, annoyingly, we do have to, kind of backtrack here and then redo that trek up just to complete the map, unfortunately. Like, there's no actual reason to go down here except to complete the map. So, you know, it's a... This is just going to lead us back into that room with all the treasure. That's alright. Oh, we're not wrong. It gives us the black sachet. It's... Oh no, it's a mimic! Ooh. There we go, we got all of his items. Now let's go back up here, and we shall get the next thing we need. Alright. Gotcha. Man, I always have trouble turning around on that. It always makes you want to face the other direction. There we go. Now we can go this way. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, man, that was exactly... Actually, you know what? We're just gonna die. This will waste us more time. But that mistake I made, it would waste us more time to complete it than it would for us to go in that direction. Man, like, it really wants you to face... I think it makes you face the direction you were already facing, is the thing. And I'm always facing the left side when I go up that, so... There we go. And then we'll go down there when we're done with this room. There we go. There we go. Now we need this. The Sealed Wind. Now, there's another thing I didn't show you that I probably should have, that this is actually really important for. Now we want to go down this way. And we're not going to enter this next room until we get full charge. Because you really want to kill that mage. That way, she doesn't fire stars at you when you're taking cover. And we don't need anything up there, so we're just gonna... Okay. Now that we've got the sealed wind... We're going to warp back to Karst, and we're going to take care of some quick business right here. This is something we absolutely need to do if we want to beat the game, because if we don't, we'll get a false ending. Oops. Get up here. Here we go. Let's go ahead and heal real quick. Next we'll use the Sealed Wind. Which we inspect that, it asks for the Sealed Wind. And it opens that up. And the Sealed Wind actually does do damage, but I haven't experimented with that one, so we won't be really using it very much. There was a time when I used that as part of my strategy for being the final boss, but I found another strategy that simply doesn't need that, so... This blessed leaf is able to purify the source of the curse. So now we have a green leaf that does way more damage. If you've played Momodora, like the previous games, not all of them, but like... If you played like Momodora, like... I don't know, Momodora 3 or whatever. Honestly, we should have gone from the other way. Or I forget which game it was, but at least one of the previous games gives you an upgrade green leaf that you need to get the true ending. Going to the Royal Pinacotheca, and now we will make our way to the boss of this area. As we do tons of extra damage. Still gonna be using our arrows a whole lot, though. Alright, and there's one more shortcut we gotta open going this way before we fight the boss. Now we hit this. This opens up a pathway up. And we can go straight to the boss from this way, but we're not going to do that because we want to save before fighting the boss, because chances are we will die at least once fighting this boss. And now we can go back here. Alright. Now, arrows actually aren't effective on this boss. So we're going to change up our strategy a little bit. We're gonna use the, what's it called? Pocket Incensory, that's right. I had a brain fart for a moment. Pocket Incensory and the Necklace of Sacrifice. And then we'll use everything else the way we normally would. Now let's continue. No poison arrows, so for once in our lives we don't have to worry about our arrow positioning. Which, you know, we're used to at this point, but it is a nice relief. And yeah, you can see how, like... Oh yeah, that's the other thing with the Pocket Incensory, is that even the arrows stun them now. Which is a real big deal. Alright, so here... 2, 3... And let's see how long it takes for you to realize what this is cribbing from. I don't know why they care about who engaged with Fennel if Fennel stands against them. Oops, I forgot to equip the backbench. Yeah, we're not going to beat a single one of these without dying, are we? That's a shame, because I've had runs where I've had failed recordings just where I did beat quite a few bosses on the first try, but that's alright. That's the point of this series, right? Is to show that even people who aren't very good can do this within a reasonable amount of time as well, so let's be careful with our buttons this time. There we go. Come on. Come on. Oh! Alright. Let's try again. I actually kind of forgot my strategy for this boss here. Because I'm so used to spamming arrows and everything. I did figure out a strategy, but now I'm kind of forgetting what it was. There we go. There's a little bit of luck involved. There we go. No! That was perfect. This is one where my strategy... this is bad on my part, but my strategy for this boss involves reliance on a bit of RNG positioning. Because, like, you'll notice that I did, like, the same strategy both times. But one time, like, Magnolia just kind of, like, leaned into... like where my backbend patch was landing, whereas like she didn't the first time. Like that's the kind of like thing where like I'm kind of making a consolidation where I'm just hoping RNGesus is on my side. We'll see if that happens this time too. Oh no! This is what I'm talking about. All right, yeah. Well, we got hit, so we're gonna let it kill us. But yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like that's the kind of thing where like I'm basing my strategy on luck, which probably isn't good strategy if you want to get through purely on skill. And I'm sure there are other ways to do this. Like, none of these bosses that I'm killing, none of my strategies are like the way to do it. There are other ways to do it. And like there are definitely better ways than mine. In fact, if you play this game, share some of your favorite strategies below for these bosses. Oh my gosh, this is getting annoying. Alright, let's try again. Yeah, like, man, we got that one run where, like, she perfectly leaned into the attack just the way we wanted to, and then we just goofed up and died at the last second. But that just hasn't happened even one time since, Come on. Okay, I'm really annoyed now. Come on. Ugh. Yeah, I'm just not getting lucky. Which, you know, again, on me. I could have thought of a better strategy than a backbend patch. I could also try leaning back. There we go. There we go. Leaning back is exactly what we want. Oh my gosh. Yep, she, that's actually kind of annoying because she actually stunned with that attack, but it didn't break. Like, it had a poise break animation, but she didn't actually, like, break her poise when that happened, which feels just a bit unclear to me. But yeah, this is why the Pocket Incensory is sold here, too, because it's useful on that boss. Okay, that was my fault. I went in blind. Come on. This boss never takes this long. Which I know, I'm saying that, like, every other boss, but that's the reality of it. Like, sometimes you'll have runs that are really good. Some of them you're just gonna have runs that aren't. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now I feel good about dying a million times if I still completely rip them apart on the winning run. Of course, this is kind of sad. Like, these are kind of tragic characters who don't realize, like, their own, like, ironic hypocrisy. And now we got the heavy arrows, which means we can finally say goodbye to Edea's Pearl, because this actually does way more damage. Heavy arrows just gives you way more damage for your arrows. Now we're in the final area, which we're going to actually have to do all of it, and then backtrack so we can finish off the last of the side quests and collectibles, and then go back. Which won't actually take as long as it sounds, because, you know, there is a warp point. Oh, come on. Now, all we need is to get to 1,000 money, and then we are done collecting money. Because there's only one more thing we need to buy, and it costs 1,000. Well, it was kind of fun. It's a cat. Let's see if we can talk to him as a cat. You cannot deceive me. Welcome to Karst Castle, human. Sacrificial Main. You'll notice they call it the Sacrificial Main quite a few times. There's a reason for that. And this kind of opens up the shortcut, so we never have to do that little platforming section again. Let's hit the save point. Alright, now let's go. Oh, you gotta be king. I didn't even know that guy was there. I think I usually just run through. Actually, no, there's no reason for that, because I can totally just, There we go, 18 bugs. There's only one more in this area, and then there's another one in the Whiteleaf Memorial Park that we will get later. Because, you know, we have to do other things there anyway, so we might as well not get it until later. Oh wait, let me use my bellflower, because I'm kind of low in health. There we go. You can kill her with Bachman Patch, but I've screwed that up so many times that I'm not going to bother. There we go. This kind of brings us back. There we go. Now we've completed this room. There's nothing else in this room, so us going in and then out was a way to save us some time. And that chest is empty. It's just kind of a troll chest. So we're going down this way instead of the other way, because there is a reward at the end of this. There we go. There we go. And this is just a side room. Heavy arrows. Flower. Hey, you know what? We definitely don't need the Astral Charm because there's a huge chest we're going to hit with tons of money to get to 1,000. So we're going to replace this with the, where is it? The Pocket Incensory. That'll give us tons of damage. We actually don't need Edea's Pearl for the rest of the game. You can use that instead of one or the other if you want to. I think, I'm actually not even sure if the way I'm doing it is the most powerful method, but tons of extra damage plus a bunch of extra poise damage, including from arrows, is too good for me to pass up. So I'm going with that over whatever, even if there is a additional damage that I'm missing out on with the poison arrows. There we go. We now officially have money for everything in this game. Oh, you got, oh man, that is so much exploration we have to redo. That's really annoying, actually. I had no idea there was two. I don't know how I missed that. Like, maybe I just always killed it off screen, so I didn't realize there was two. But yeah, man, that's actually really a bummer. Like, that's a lot of we have to redo. There we go. But yeah, like I said, we never get to the point where we can truly avoid getting one-shot by things, because... let's go ahead and equip this now, because I know we're not going to need it. It actually won't be too long. It feels like it's a long time, but it's not going to be. We're still going to squeak in at under 3 hours. We still might squeak in at this being my fastest personal record, actually. Which is pretty nice, because I think my personal record is like 2 hours and 45 minutes or something to that effect. Bellflower, there we go. Oh, there we go. We didn't break any of them. That's nice. I'll pretend that was a challenge and that I aced it. Alright, we're moving a bit faster this time, too. Okay, yeah, I've definitely seen 2 before. I don't know how I forgot there were 2, because I definitely had to have known that. There we go. Just to give you an idea of why I was so annoyed, the save point is literally, like, right up here. Yep, right after this. Oh, and there's our friend, Ka. Calling out to Kaho, or Kaho. The developer actually did say either pronunciation is correct. There's only one thing we can do as a priestess. We gotta help her end her suffering. And she dies, and we gave her a proper burial. And we get the Passiflora, which gives us a one-time full HP restore. We don't have very many vitality fragments left. And normally there's no way to track your vitality fragments the way you can with the ivory bugs. So you just kind of have to, like, memorize it or look it up, basically. Now, the next boss is actually immune to arrows, once again. So once again, we're unequipping the heavy arrows. And we're going to replace this with the Crystal Seed and the... We're going to use our good old friend, the Sparse Thread, one more time. And this is actually a mini boss, so there's no hitless bonus, but we're still going to try to hitless it anyway. If not, oh well, I'm actually not going to worry about it since it's not an actual... I'm lying to myself. I'm totally going to wipe if I miss it. Oops. You can kill it in one hit. I just wasn't paying attention. There we go. But yeah, I could totally do it in one cycle if I was just a little more careful. We're going to use the Passiflora just once. There we go. And that is the last ivory bug in this area. The last one that we need is hiding out in Whiteleaf Memorial Park, which again, we're going to grab that when we inevitably go back there. This is kind of just the run-up to the final save point, which again, annoyingly, we're going to have to backtrack and then redo a part of this stage in order to get back there, but oh well. And that's it. We are at the final save point. Now we're going to enter the boss room, but we're not going to trigger the boss, just because we're not trying to, we just got to get the thing on screen. Okay, there we go. We now have that part of the map covered. There you go. Now we're back here in Whiteleaf Memorial Park. And there's two places we gotta get to. Here we go. There we go, that's the last ivory bug. Now we can buy the Dole Pearl from this guy, which again, we're literally never going to use. We don't need it. And now we just have to paint this one piece map. When we fought Lubella, annoyingly, there's this part of the map right here that you simply can't cover until after it's done, so you have to backtrack here. I don't know what the reason for that is, because, you know, again, this game does love its kind of like flavor corners that are there just because they look pretty, which I'm fine with, I understand that. But I think in that particular one, maybe they should have shaved that off. Just because it's annoying if you're trying to like do a 100% run. And now we can deliver all these bugs to the bunny florist. And there's also one final side quest we're going to finish off as well, which requires us to talk to the bunny florist and deliver all these bugs. Oh. And another bellflower. Hazel badge. Passiflora, so you get 2 passifloras. And they have all the bugs they need now. And that's the end of that side quest. And now, what's the Hazel badge do? I think it's literally just a key item. It's useless with whole place our heart. The shiny little badge in particular seems to pick an owl. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. I don't know if there's like a Momodora, an obvious Momodora lore thing that I'm missing out on. Now we gotta make one more warp. Because we have to deliver something to Aerie to finish off her side quest. And then after that, there's one more thing I want to show you in the Forlorn Monastery. I do find it interesting how there's more enemies at the front of Karst now. Because, like, that's something that you wouldn't really see unless you were specifically, like, waiting to the end to 100% these quests. Yeah, she says the same thing that she said last time. And she has more hope now. And let's see what this does. I've actually never used this. Cast Protective Light Sorcery. Protective Cool given to infants of the Karstian royal bloodline. Let's use it once, see what happens. Oh, okay, yeah, so it protects you from getting hit. Yeah, okay, you know what? This could have been helpful to my strategy against the final boss, but I already figured out a strategy, so I'm not worried. Now we gotta do one last thing here, and then we can go back and fight the final boss. There we go. It involves us going back to where the Master Witch was. Okay, remember that door that I told you was locked? Now that we've 100%ed the game, we go into the developer room and we get little cute messages from the developers, kind of like in Chrono Trigger. And yeah, it's just cute. It's just an Easter egg that's here to reward you for doing everything. Hardine is a mimic. You're right, and you know what? He made Minoria next, which is another one I want to long play at some point. I did record a long play for that one as well, much like the hard mode long play I did for this one and I scrapped, because I wasn't happy with the results. So I'm gonna re-record that eventually. You're right. Like, finishing this run. This one's kind of funny. It looks like it's gonna hurt you. Well, thank you, Therns. I think that's kind of funny that you can actually attack him. And that's it. That's the developer's room. With like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. You can't attack R9. That would be kind of funny if you could. There we go. Now let's get back to Karst Castle. And make our way back to the top. We have to do that kind of whole trek again. I do wish there was like a shortcut you can make your way back up there, but you can't. It is a little shorter than I remember it being because we don't have to do all that, those side paths. There we go. And of course we already fought this mini-boss, so we don't have to fight it again. No, no, no. Oh man, that could have been very bad. There we go. Now we're back to the final save point. Now let's get ourselves equipped. Actually, we already have all that. Actually, yeah, that's all we need. Some strategies don't change, huh? Let's get it in view. Oh wait, no, what am I doing? I do not have the right equipment, actually. No, 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 I ruined this. Let's switch to the Necklace of Sacrifice. That was about to be a mistake. That's actually a little trick you can do, where you can use it and then pop it. There we go. And here it is, the Cursed Queen of Karst. There we go. There we go. And if we had not purified the green leaf, this is where we would have gotten the false ending. But because we did the requirements for the true ending, we get this extra phase. Oh. Oh no, I thought I was using the Bachman patch. Oh man. We could have one-tried that one too. I know I could have one-tried that one. I've done it before. Oh man. Not a single boss one-tried on this entire run. Oh well. There we go. So remember to double tap this time, instead of single tap. Oh man, I think you have to air dodge for that one. Alright. Come on. Oh, damn. Somehow we did it before that was out. Okay, so as soon as we flashes, we use this, and then we use the Bachman patch. Positioning, my fault again. See, I take responsibility when it's my fault. Alright, let's try it again. It feels good optimizing these first two phases so quickly, though. Whoa, why did... That wasn't the amount of damage I did last time. That's very strange, actually. I do not know what was different about that compared to literally every other time. Yeah, I have no idea what was different about that time. Maybe your head is her weakness or something? Oh, you gotta be kidding. Oh well. That's fine. It's only a few extra seconds. It's not a big deal. We still know she's gonna be dead right after this. I'm gonna stand right here. Man, oh man, this is not going well for me. What am I doing? Okay, I've got the Necklace of Sacrifice. Just wanted to make sure that was equipped. Yeah, I really don't know what was different about that one run where it just didn't give me the hit. That was very strange. There we go. Now I feel just a bit better about that. Alright, she's finished. Watch this. There we go! And we have flawlessed every single boss in the game. And hey, it's only been 2 hours and 35 minutes. We probably could have done a bit better if we had, like, aced literally any of the bosses. But this was a very good run. I'm pretty satisfied with it. I don't think this is quite going to beat my personal record, but, you know, still very good. And yeah, we absorb Keho as a sacrificial maiden. She absorbed the curse into her and purified it, and Keho is now dead. Sacrificed to purify this curse that was ravaging her land and ravaging Karst. And the queen is back to normal, presumably. Well, you know what time it is. Put the controller down. How do I feel about Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight? This is one of my favorite metroidvanias of all time. It's not even a question. I love this game a lot. It is quite a bit more non-linear than so many other metroidvanias out there, believe it or not. For some reason, even though metroidvanias as a genre are like really hip and have been for like the past 10 years or so, among the indie scene, one thing that a lot of them don't seem to copy is that sense of non-linearity. Like that path I took, I could have gone any path I want. I could have done Subterranean Grave first. I could have done the Cinder Chambers first. I could have done, I'm pretty sure I could have done Whiteleaf Memorial Park first. Like, there's just a lot of freedom in that, like, you know, open main section of the game between the beginning and the end. And I do really think that the challenge run of this game is especially fun. Like, the combat is simple, but it's still got enough a room for expression that you can really just do cool things. Like, there are so many things I could have done when fighting these bosses that would have just been way more sick and way more stylish that, you know, I just didn't do. And like, other people, I'm sure, know way better strategies. And I'm sure there are strategies that I know that other people haven't really noticed themselves too. It's just a really, like, expressive game that somehow takes, like, inspiration from other genres, other, like, action games, with how it, you know, makes this combat system robust. And the result is something that's, like, really unique, really modest, really tight, but also feels like a complete package. And Momodora 5, and Minoria is the next game that's not in the series, but it's kind of like in the meta series, right? Like, it's related to Momodora, it's got some similar ideas, but it's a bit more experimental, kind of like, I guess, in the way like his first 3 games are, even though it's still way more like polished and like a complete product the way Momodora 4 is. But I don't think it works as well. Like, the things they experiment with don't work as well there. But I understand that they were kind of trying to experiment with making a 3D game, but we'll talk about Minoria when it comes to that. But Momodora 4, it's like my favorite game by far by this developer. And Momodora 5, the way that's shaping up, if you look at the trailer, like, heck, I'll put it in the description even. Man, oh man, I am excited for that game. Like, it looks like there's a little more complexity to it, but I'm also hoping that they remember to make it, like, nice and modest, and that they still let you do, like, crazy things with the spells and equipment, because that's what made this game so fun. And yeah, there is that scrapped hard mode long play that I recorded of this. I will link that as an unlisted video in the description if you really want to watch it. I do think it's a good video. It's just that I really wanted to record in save mode long play instead for this. Thank you for playing. Well, thank you for making this game hard dying. I really appreciate it. Would you like to save over your current file? By doing so, yeah, this just starts New Game Plus, basically. I've actually never done New Game Plus. Maybe I should do that sometime. And we're going to actually let this open because we get an item for one-shotting the Queen of Karst, and I just want to show to you what's different about it. And we're just going to skip through this because it's the exact same text as at the beginning of the game. Okay, so we have all of our inventory, just not the, yeah, we don't have the special abilities. If we go to key items and we go to Birthstone, this is what we get from the Queen of Karst. A personal belonging of the Queen of Karst, corrupted by great greed, the Queen became insane, insane mode, and attempted to mend the world of the living and the world of the dead. And small coin, simple gift of subjective significance. I think one of these you just get for being in the game, and one of them you get for one-shotting the boss. I don't remember what. And we do get the green leaf. And that'll be it. Yeah, not much else to say. Do like, share, comment, subscribe. That stuff does really help me out. And do look forward to the next long play. The next long play is going to be Bayonetta 3 and Infinite Climax. And man, oh man, that is going to be a complicated game to talk about. I won't get into it now, but that is going to be a very, very complicated game to talk about. Oh, wow. This is like a minute, just under a minute, slower than my personal record, because Slot 5 is my personal record. Oh, man. But I guess it depends. Like, in-game time is slightly different, so, yeah. Anyway, like, share, comment, subscribe. It really means a lot to me. Leave comments, really. I love getting comments. I love getting, like, both, like, I like getting, like, constructive criticism and, like, praise for what you liked, etc. Just in the comments below. Tell me what you think about the game, what you think about my play style, how you would do it differently if you played the game. And, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, y'all. You're the absolute best. Please take care.